of stories here and there. And now, in the world of sport, I will be letting you some of those games that will be taking place today and those also over the weekend, but that will be coming in the later minutes of the show. And I will be in place to also give you some of those results of some of the games that we played last night. And all in all, I want to welcome you on board and say very good morning, and we are back with the final edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show for this week. My name is Farish Majid. I want to welcome you once again, and we are going to be looking at some of the stories happening straight away. And in Lango, the coronation of the paramount chief of Lango hangs in balance as High Court announced the previous elections. Is another story that we're seeing right now in the papers, but I don't know why. Maybe why should our issues of chiefs elections or traditional issues head to court? I really feel it's very much bad. I want also to see elders dealing with these issues and let the elders host and address these issues right away from the homesteads. And to me, that would be the very best to solve some of these issues, so take that direction. Now, the High Court in Lira has annulled the election of engineer Dr. Michael Odongo Kune as the new paramount chief of the Lango Cultural Institution, implying that the planned November 2nd coronation, that's for the war in Yach, which is supposed to be tomorrow, whose organization had been ordered by the Labour Minister Betty Amongi, may not be possible to take place. That is of tomorrow in there because the coronation is supposed to be taking place tomorrow, but now the High Court sitting in Lira has annulled the elections, and that means tomorrow's coronation may not be able to take place. And now, in a landmark verdict delivered via email on Thursday, which was yesterday, the court also declared that the election of November of Ambassador Dixon Ogwang Okal as the rival paramount chief of Lango must be annulled and also void. Now, the judgment follows cases filed in court as Dennis Obia Achila and Benjamin Oki plaintiffs versus Odongo Kune, George Osoli Ojwang Opota, Willie Omodo and Omodo Tom and Tom Otim, not forgetting Hamzo Kelo and Vincent Oling. The defendants also was filed in court in there, but now the court has issued a verdict just a day before the coronation. What does it mean and what kind of message this is sending? And how ready are we as citizens, as people of Lango sub-region, also really for this exercise? And how ready were we and how prepared are we? And now that this message comes at a time where many of us may not be expecting it, how ready are we to also have our mindset changed? Is what also really we want to also really find out in there. Now, another case also really was that Odongo Kune, Ojong Opota, and William Omodo, the counterclaims, versus Obia Achila, Oki Ogjuang and Ogwang Okwal, and also then Dr. Dan Okelo, Dr. Richard Nam, and Dan Opito Odwi, and Dennis Okwir Jaramogi. The counterpart, also another case was only filed in there. There were several cases, of course, filed in there, but now we are able to only see the High Court taking its position. That is to annul the elections. That means the scheduled event that was supposed to be taking place tomorrow may not be able to take place tomorrow now. That means we are going to be seeing the day just remain like that. But how ready are we and how does this affect us? And how does this affect also the activities of the Lango Paramount institution in there? Because if you look at the issues of the cultural institution, definitely I want to say this is going to be affecting it. However, we are able to see the plaintiffs contend the entire process, leading to eventual also election, and that is where we need the declaration, and that is where we are going to be saying that. Meanwhile, counsel for the plaintiffs submitted that the election was not in compliance with the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as of 1995 as amended, and the Institution also of Traditional Cultural Leadership Act, that is CAP 242, were not respected, and that means it was in violation of some of these rules, and that therefore also calls for termination and also the annulling of these elections, but which we did see happening in there. I'm really waiting to see how this now shall be ending. Now, still in Thursday's ruling, court also issued a permanent injunction forbidding the conflicting also parties from performing the function of the paramount chief in there. Instead, it issued a declaration that Muzee Edur Ebil is still the paramount chief of Lango. Additionally, an order was also issued directing Amongi to regazette the 94-year-old grandfather as the paramount chief of Lango. And each party bears their own costs in the matter, and that is where we are not going to be seeing anybody be fined also for those activities in there. But we are yet following up to see how this also ends, and we are going to be letting you know also in case if there's any development in relation to this story, because this story has been there. We have been able to talk about these fights, most especially between these Lango paramount chiefs who are also wanting to take over the position in there, but now the election of Ebil Edur has now been annulled, and we are not going to be seeing Okune also leading as the paramount chief in there, but we are following up. And we want to see how this, of course, will be ending in there. But if at all he was rightly elected, he can still maybe go back to court and still also really file his complaints, which may also lead to another judgment in there. But as for now, we are seeing the election was annulled, and that means we are not going to be seeing any development in relation to that in there. But as we get to move on with the show, remember, so many issues going to happen, and we are going to be seeing also that happening. And that means today we are going to be letting you know of any other developing stories also in relation to what's happening in West Nile sub-region and the country at large. I will be also touching what is happening internationally, and all in all, this is to keep you informed. And an informed person is definitely one that is going to be making informed decisions that will be also justifying that you are indeed an empowered person. And to have that also a bit of empowerment, definitely you need information, and which information, of course, you can be able to get from West Nile Television. And this is not only to also just detain you, also to keep you informed, but it is also to empower you, because if at the end of the day, you know your rights, there's no way somebody is going to be cheating you of what you're supposed to be getting. That is one beauty also of having maybe social information, and that would also at the end of the day empower you also by giving you that information. Leaving that aside, Chambogo students strike after lecturers refuse to release the results is another story that we are seeing on the paper this morning, and this is on the monitor. And I really want to show you that as we are getting closer to the end of the term, I do understand that some of the universities already also preparing to also enter mid of the semester in there. But now, for the candidates, they already also preparing to have their final examinations, because most of these institutions are already also planning to have the final UNEB examinations. For those who are in Senior 6, I do understand the preparations are in high gear. On Monday this week, we shall be seeing the briefing for the P7 candidates, and now the preparation is actually high. And as of yesterday, as I was walking back from somewhere and from Mawindiri, I was able to see a number of school children going back, heading to different directions. That means the preparation is actually high, and most of them are now preparing to sit for the final examinations. But now in Chambogo, where we're also seeing strike going on, and I don't understand this is only as a result of lecturers delaying to release the results for the students also who are planning also to graduate. Now the students of Chambogo University Sorority Study Center on Thursday morning protested over the allegedly held results, and the students already accused their study center staff of holding their results for over 2 months, citing government's failure to pay the civil servants since last semester. And Isaac Opolot, one of the final year students offering Bachelor of Accounting and Finance, is not sure of his fate after also involving also in there, because if you look at the issues of the results, in most cases at the universities, if at all the results delay, then you will be wondering, did I get any retake? Did I get any retake? Because most times the students, most especially the campuses, have that fear towards the final year of not getting retakes, because each and every time want to graduate so that they can also come and fumble with life outside, because really sometimes being kept in the universities for over 3 or 4 years is one thing that pains most of the students, because they feel they would also be getting money for themselves as they're out of those institutions. But that is one thing we are seeing in Chambogo, the Sorority Study Center in there now. Moses Ogwapit, the manager also of Chambogo University Sorority Learning Center, appeared to suggest the external marking made it easier for lecturers to hold the results. And that is one area where he also asked to comment on the matter. And Chambogo University Senior Public Relations Officer Ruben Twinomujuni said the results were also held by the lecturers because they want their money, but we are doing our best to see that they also are paid. And that is according to information we are receiving from the university, that the results will be released after the lecturers are paid in there. And now additionally, he also said the university has been in talks with the Minister of Finance, and also really that they want also to address this matter. And this also really seems to be a breakthrough in there, and that is one issue we are following up on. And what is also really causing all this? Now the Chambogo University Center is among also the institutions accredited also by the National Council for Higher Education, have also been in there, and that is where we are not also seeing that the university was also not accredited. And that is one area we are seeing that the Chambogo University Center is also one of those institutions that was not accredited by the National Council for Higher Education, but also has kept operating since also there. But Chambogo University Vice Chancellor, that is Eli Katunga, Professor, said National Council for Higher Education has no mandate to stop institutions from also creating learning centers. but National Council for Education insists that according to also the Section 25 of the Universities and Other Tertiary Institutions Act of 2001, the tertiary institution also has to first get National Council for Higher Education approval before creating new learning centers, which Chambogo University has also failed to do so, and also rendering the study centers also really not accredited also by National Council for Education India. But we are seeing that, and we are following up on that matter, and we want to see how that also will be ending in there. And that is where we are going to be heading with the discussions as we go on. And in Agago, we are seeing a UPDF soldier has been arrested over shooting 3 civilians dead in there. Is another story which we are seeing right now in the papers, and which is really on quite sad note. And really sometimes we come here and talk about soldiers going on rampage, and you wonder what could have caused all that. As a soldier, why do you find it so easier to kill Ugandans? Why do you find it so easier to end lives? It is really one thing which I feel is so absurd, because in most cases we have had stories where a soldier can just walk into the barracks, pick the guns, after smaller disagreement, and ends people's lives. Even at times it is the innocent that die as a result of all this. So how ready are we as citizens, and how ready are we as government to make sure the soldiers we are having in this country are the ones that are not necessarily going to be looking at life as animals? Because this is really something which I feel is so absurd. Because for a soldier to just end a life of Uganda like that, then it means there's really a lot more that we need to do when it comes to solely training the soldiers. Now we are seeing a Uganda Post Defense Force soldier has been arrested, also over shooting 3 people dead and injuring 2 others in Agago district. And according to information we are receiving from authorities, this happened on Thursday. Now the 45-year-old Private Boni Ameni allegedly also already killed Sandy Apio, 21-year-old, Santina Kidi, a 47-year-old, and Florence Ajalo, who is a 15-year-old, also already in there, residents all over Agago district. And this incident happened, that is in Ngora East Village, in Paimoi Sub-County, in Agago district, India. And according to UPDF 5th Division Public Relations Information Officer, that is Captain Edwin Mawanda, the suspect was apprehended on October 30th of 2004 during a coordinated solo operation in Paimoi Sub-County. And Captain Mawanda pledged to ensure that the suspect is prosecuted for justice to prevail in there. And we expect also that indeed justice should prevail. And preliminary information indicates that Ameni had also a misunderstanding with his wife before he escaped into the barracks and went to pick the gun to do what he did in there. Now in a search for his wife, Ameni reportedly also went to Ngora East Village and went into rampage, which also turned fatal before he went into hiding. And meanwhile, delivering Chief of Defense Forces General Moses Kainerugaba condolence message during the victims' send-off ceremony on Tuesday last week, 5th Infantry Division Commander Brigadier Keith Katunji condemned the grievous act and pledged to ensure the suspect is prosecuted. And this is not only about prosecution. My whole issue is how do we train the soldiers? I think ideological orientation, mindset orientation, is actually what we need to do at this time in here, so that most of the soldiers do not do these activities. Because at least in the last 3 weeks, we have been talking about a story of at least a soldier doing end service. Yesterday, it was a story where we were able to sort of give you where a soldier was arrested for defiling a 4-year-old. This is what we did see. And it means the training is really lacking. I think it is something also we need to do when it comes to staying with civilians and also training these people like that. Because ending life seems to be a normal thing for the soldiers. I don't know why it is so, but I feel there's something government needs to do when it comes to addressing that issue in there. So that also really at the end of the day, the soldiers we're having are the ones that do not see ending life as something that is normal to them. And I hope at the end of the day, that is where we shall be seeing that also ending. Now, according to the 2023 annual police crime report, about 25 lives are lost to murder or accidents in Uganda every day. If you look at 25 lives every day, just imagine you're part of the 25, or just imagine your relative is among the 25 persons who die daily as a result of murder or accidents in Uganda. Because if you look at these cases, then you realize of 25 is indeed an overwhelming number, which we need to also really work towards addressing that. And that is where we're going to be taking a short commercial break. When we return back, we still have lots to discuss with you. My name is Farish Majid, and today I really want to show you that so many issues are going to be happening, and all in all, we have also an enticing program also that will be flowing in the due course of the day, all in all, to keep you first of all informed, entertained, and not forgetting also being educated, all in all. That is what we are going to be seeing. Remember, so many programs are being aligned, starting it off with the KOKOLIRIKO live show, where we shall be having the Ruba Mabi later on, and of course, The news bulletin of the Lugwara also will be coming through exactly after here, and that will also be ushering us into many of those other programs. For now, we are taking a short commercial break that will be also ushering into us into more of the discussions. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions. And empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to StarTimes.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium, Channel 259 and Channel 246. Starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back. We are back into the second half of the first hour with the KOKOLIRIKO live show, and we're already 36 minutes after 7 o'clock, and I wanted this opportunity to welcome you on board from wherever you're watching us from. In case you're just joining us right now, we're already some minutes into the show. I want to also welcome you on board in a special way and say welcome. And our final destination, of course, remains 9 o'clock, and after 9, that's when I will be leaving the studios for the Elders and News team to come through with Fete Manuel, and they will be giving you what's happening in the world of news in there. And now, still within what's happening on the papers, on the morning updates, I want to assure you that police in Apache district investigate circumstances under which a UPDF soldier's mother died, and the body was dumped also at home in there, and that is where now police in Apache district are investigating the murder of a 50-year-old woman who was allegedly killed and dumped at her doorsteps. And Janet Akaka, a resident of village in Selat Naguru Division, Apache municipality, was found dead at her residence. That's on October 30th of this year in there, but whoever also did it remains unknown. And Bosco Okwanga, the S1 chairperson of the area, that is village in Cell, has said the deceased appeared to have been killed by suspected criminals within the intention of robbing her. That is really something which we are seeing. And who are these criminals? This is where we expect police now to come out and find out exactly who could have killed her. And Okwanga said the deceased had been living alone in the house since her children are away for work. And now local authorities also really believe that the apparent attackers targeted the victim's money, which her son has been sending for her as upkeep. And others already from Apache Central Police Station visited the scene, and officers from Apache District visited the crime of scene and recorded statements already from witnesses on ground. And by press time on Thursday, no suspected criminal has so far been arrested in connection with the murder, but investigations into the matter are underway, according to North Chiyoga Regional Police spokesperson, that is Patrick Jimmy Okema, who actually confirmed that in there. And Okema did also go on to add that the body was picked and also conveyed to Patch Hospital for post-mortem also in there, and that is one issue that we are seeing. Now, according to the 2023 annual police crime report, at least 25 lives are lost daily. That is in relation to accidents or either also murders. So at least if you look at 25 lives being lost on daily, then you really realize that this is indeed quite a huge number, something which we must always work towards. Why do you people find also really ending lives very easy? Because there's no spare to life. That is one issue, and one thing always we have been told, and also we have been talking about, that there's no spare to life. So we need to live our lives with caution, and very much also really seriously in there. But sometimes we see people end our lives. Who are these people, and what intention do they have, and what answers are these people going to be giving to God? Because I don't think if there's any religion that talks about promoting murder, all the religions are condemning murder. As far as I know, all the religions in this world are condemning murder. But recently we also were able to see a cult which also emerged where people were also murdered in there, where lives also were lost. In Uganda still, where do these people get the authorities, and who empowers these people with this kind of knowledge is what we really also need to know in there. Because if you look at all this, then you realize that indeed there's something which we need to do towards also addressing that concern in that. At the end of the day, that will also enable us improve on our livelihoods. And now that's where we're going to be also really posing the discussion and really also asking for your opinion. What should be done to persons who are found also really of engaging in such practices? And that is one thing which we're seeing in there. Now, leaving that aside, Bishop warns parents against sending children to relatives for holidays is another story which we are seeing the past morning, where today most of our learners are returning back home, most especially those in Senior 4 who have finalized with their examinations are now planning to be back home, and they're going to be mingling with us in the society. But the question is, how ready are these people to live with us? Because some of them may be planning to send their children to live with relatives, something which the Luero Anglican Diocese Bishop, that is Wilson Chiseka, has cautioned parents against, and arranged also really what we call arranged children holidays with relatives, undermining the children's safety. And now Bishop Chiseka advised parents to ensure monitored visits, noting that whereas it is a good idea to keep family bonds, that's with distant relatives, but children also safety is very much important because of issues of abductions, sexual harassment and risks of accidents and moral decay among many other persons. Yes, that is what the bishop is actually saying, and I really want to side with the bishop, because many times you are going to be sending children to relatives whose backgrounds you do not know and whose kind of lifestyle you do not know, and your children are going to be learning bad behaviors. Today we have children who have simply gotten spoiled just because they were exposed to new environments, most especially those coming from the villages who move to the city center. They get spoiled. Just like what the bishop is saying, a person comes from Ribo sub-county, you take this person to Kampala, the person comes back and he feels he's an American, he feels he's a Muganda. So I think they come back with all those challenges already. At the end of the day, they feel they are changed. So I think moral decay is something also which we need to also talk about. And at the end of the day, what the bishop is saying is actually indeed true, because many of the parents, they, because of issues here and there, others financial challenges, they will be planning to send the children to live with relatives, where sometimes children are subjected to a lot of issues. For instance, sexual exploitation, where family members also might take advantage of these relatives, where they're going to be going because as a parent you're not going to be monitoring. And then the issues of labor exploitation, which is indeed a great concern, where people feel you have been brought to stay with me, you have to now do the donkey work, where children are going to be subject to work as maids. This is for the girl child. I don't want to say it is not a good practice, which we must also really mind of. And if in case we are supposed to, or planning to send our children, let's send them to relatives whom we know are indeed our own, whose behaviors are well known, and that would also at the end of the day help us raise children who are good, much as we are looking at keeping the bond with distant relatives. But what about the kind of life we are going to be seeing our children subject to is also really very much important, and therefore I want to also really say let's engage in practices that would also really promote good livelihood among our children in there. Now the bishop was giving his sermon at the prayer they organized at Labour Junior School in Wacheto sub-county in Nakaseke district, when parents also learn to take full responsibility of their children, and that's what we did see happening in there. Now for the children, the home is also the only safe area, and you children also should tell your parents that you want to be around to help with also different home chores, including learning extra skills, and that is what the bishop also did advise on. Instead of taking these children for holidays, he has the children, you also have the mandate and say, no, I want to be with you and I want to learn these activities, I want to learn other skills, and I will be also helping you in doing house chores. For instance, sweeping the compound, which is also an activity that children must be able to do. And this goes back to the learners who are in senior four, who are finished, who are currently back with us home. Let's support our parents in doing these activities. It is actually high time. It's very much important also at the end of the day for us to also be engaging in that. Now, Workers MP Arnaite Wakajara on Thursday said moral decay is evident in sections of community where children spend time after school. As parents, also we have the obligation to protect our children from also really other dangers. And it's unfortunate also that the parents have no time for the children today, which also is something which the MP also did caution against. In now call it Rosemary Rabashaija, the RDC also Nakaseke, the following cases in Nakaseke are overwhelming. And where these questions tracing back, it goes back to moral decay. And that means if at all we are going to be leaving our children just later like that, the vampires and the hyenas are within the society to also really learn to land on them, and which also will be very much burdened. But the RDC also did confirm that they are fighting also those issues of child marriage, and which is also a big problem also in Nakaseke in there. And he attributed all this to properties, which have also caused a lot of problems also in the district in there. That is one issue also which we are looking out for, and this is surely not happening in only Nakaseke. You move to Madiokolo, you realize there are children matters, and these are children matters. You can really indeed see from the faces that this is a child. And you look at the boys actually, the children also really, and you realize both the mother and the father, to the daughter or to the son, actually children themselves. Persons below the age of 17, others as young as 16 years, they're already parents. That is why we are going to be seeing young grandmothers. If we are not serious, at the age of 40, we are going to be seeing grandmothers. At the age of 35, we are going to be finding ourselves as grandmothers. So I think it's quite time, and it is as well important for us to be able to sensitize the community to also resist from those practices in there. Now the annual police crime report for the year 2023 also indicates that the figure for children defiled were 13,144. Meanwhile, also 12,818 where the females also being defiled in there. Meanwhile, male also were defiled as well, where the cases were estimated at 326. Because for males, in most cases, the cases are not reported. I don't want to say males also can be defiled. If at all somebody, maybe an adult, is sleeping with you at the age of below 18, that person is already defiling you. But in most cases, we feel defilement is only for ladies, and that is why most of the empowerment campaigns are usually centered around the females. What about the males, who are also subject to a lot of issues here and there? I feel there's also something that we need to do, and that tells us that indeed males are also violated, their rights also violated sexually in there, and that means we also need to talk to our boy child, that if at all there's any older woman who is spending, maybe who is luring you, seducing you into sexual acts, that is defilement. Let's report. Let's not sit down on these issues, because at the end of the day, we have seen adults taking advantage of the young children to also exploit them sexually in there, and that is indeed defilement. Last year, there was a story that happened, a scenario that happened in one of the areas within Central Division, where there was an old lady who spent time with a boy of 16 years, and the lady was actually said to be positive. And that is where we were able to solely see the family of this young person. After learning on the issue, it was a disaster. So I think these are issues that are happening. These are not only happening in Nakaseke, but also in the entire country. Therefore, we also need to join hands and also end this vice of also really defilement, which is really indeed a great concern, which at the end of the day, if we do not work towards, then we are going to be seeing also really challenges happening also to our livelihoods in there. And that is one area where we're going to be leaving that aside. Now heading away from Nakaseke to Chotera, which is in central Uganda, neighboring Masaka, selling 730 million word expected to boost also really maternal health in Chotera. And this is in health. Meanwhile, where expected mothers in Chebe and neighboring communities of Chotera district have a reason also to smile with the first kind of with the first of its kind activity, where a shilling 702 million also word will be also commissioned and also at the facility. In this construction was also promoted by Rotary Club of Konge, Lukulu, with support also from the Rotary Club of Albert Park, Australia, and Renders Sondre, Denmark, in a bid to also address rampant case of pregnant mothers dying on their ways to hospital as a result also of traditional birth attendants in there. Because if you look at the TBS, the traditional birth attendants today in some areas also very much trust them, other than also resorting to visiting the medical workers, visiting the health center Tuesday, the health center Thursday, hospitals. Many times people not go for antenatal, but rather they also rely on these traditional birth attendants. Now in a bid to also eradicate that, the Rotary clubs also join hand to also construct the labor ward also in that facility in there, which also is going to be dealing with pregnant mothers in there. That is where we are also seeing that services also from the 26 parishes, with over 30,000 people, including expectant mothers accessing health care, will be also part of this group that will be visiting the maternity ward, expected to be completed in December this year, and will include a delivery room. We shall be having a maternity recovery room, a nursery for babies, because if you talk about nursery for babies, then you read sometimes these premature babies born need also areas where they're going to be kept, because for you to be born as a premature child, it is not by mistake. Sometimes we see people being born before the month, also for which they are supposed to come out, and that means a nursery would actually be very good for them, and keeping them in there. And that is in those incubators is actually what we also going to be looking forward into that in that. Now she explains that the sixth pregnancy nearly ended in a tragedy also when we did see that happening. That's according to Miss Vicky Nante, a mother from Marige village in Chebe sub-county, who shared appreciation that is towards also the stakeholders for also constructing the maternity ward at the health center, saying that she nearly lost her baby, who was 6 months or so pregnant, on a border accident as she was on her way to Kakuto. And she explains that the sixth pregnancy nearly ended in tragedy, and that is also where she is now appreciative to those stakeholders who have joined hands to bring hope also for them by constructing this maternity ward at the facility in there. Now, meanwhile, supervised the construction work in Chotera district yesterday, and we did see Joyce Nakalembe, the president of Rotary Club, said that shillings 183 million, which is an equivalent of 550,000 US dollars, has been invested. That is also in the facility to complete it and also equip it with modern equipment and with essential machines and drugs also in there, and that is where we are going to be seeing that also happening. Ms. Nakalembe said that the maternity ward will offer life-saving interventions, including emergency cesarean sections, newborn care, and we shall be seeing prenatal services, urging well-wishers to also join hands in fundraising efforts to enhance health care for mothers in the area. And now, during also the same visit, we did see Mr. Michael Sando, a Rotarian also from Randers, Sondre, Denmark, share that when they also visited the Chebe Health facility, they were struck by the poor condition solely of the maternity ward and heard about the mothers turning to traditional birth attendants in large numbers as a result of also the poor services at the facility. And that means with this initiative, they are definitely going to be empowering the health facility with the necessary requirements in there. Now, research also by World Health Organization shows that also really globally, in 2015, we were able to see 303,000 women died from pregnancy-related causes, where also 2.7 million babies died during also the first 28 days of life, and 2.6 million babies were still born also with challenges in there. That means all this is going to be addressed when it comes to also improving on maternal health, because today maternal health remains a great challenge, where our mothers have to trek long distances in search of medical care. For instance, in antenatal, which also sometimes makes some women not to also resort for antenatal, other than resorting also to traditional birth attendants. So I think it's quite good for the government to always empower those rural health facilities, for instance, the health and 2s and 3s, with the necessary also the manpower and medicines. So that's already those who require the skills, maybe who have the skills, be employed, so that those who need the services, for instance, those pregnant mothers can be able to sort of move at the comfort of the neighborhood in there, because sometimes because of poverty, our women may not also have the money to also move the long distances. Because you move to Terego district, I want to give you an example of Terego district, where the district has no government hospital. And most of the facilities there are health and 2s and 3s. And what does that mean? It means that those areas and those sub-counties that don't have also those services are going to be seeing the mothers forced to trek long distances. And that means the challenge will be that those who do not have the monies and those who do not have the energy will be also left out in there. What about the issue of the road infrastructure? In West Nile sub-region is also indeed a great challenge, where those who do not have the monies may not be also in position to have the ambulances also transport them to the nearest health facilities. And what does that mean? At the end of the day, people are going to be dying just because they do not also have access to medical care. So I think it's quite time, and also very much importantly, to also talk about this issue. And at the end of the day, that would also improve on medical care. And at the end of the day, that would also help reduce on maternal deaths and mothers only dying when they are giving birth in there. And all in all, we are appreciative to all the stakeholders, Rotary clubs, the Austrian government, and also all those stakeholders who have joined hands in there to also give support also to that group in there and the people of that area for also improving on their livelihoods in there. That is one issue that we are going to be leaving also on that discussion aside with. And leaving that aside, we are heading to Ginger, where still in health, but this time round land-related. Ginger Hospital has put down part of the shilling 340 million wall for Muslims to access cemetery. Is another story that we are seeing right now, and this also follows intervention by also the Minister for Lands, who also directed that the land be divided into two, where the Muslim community is supposed to take part of its own, as well as the hospital is supposed to take its own. And that is where we did see now Muslims already in Ginger City also are started accessing the cemetery now, after a section of a perimeter wall constructed by Ginger Regional Referral Hospital by the engineering brigade of UPDF also was raised down on October 29th. Also in another development follows what we call on Monday's meeting from the Minister of Lands, that is Judith Navakoba, and together with also the other ministries, for instance, Ministry of Health, and also Uganda Muslim Spring Council, being brought together also to deliberate on that issue, where it was reached to an agreement where this was to divide the land into two, where the Muslim community had to take half. Now the hospital administration also takes half in there, and now the Uganda Muslim Spring Council also intends to use the remaining land stuff, that is HUT and also the Cancer Institute, and that is where we're seeing that, and hospital also going to be using that. And the Uganda Muslim Spring Council also will continue burying the loved ones in there. Now Ginger Regional Hospital is also one of those hospitals that is helping a number of people also in the Busoga sub-region, where people from Iganga are being transported in there, where areas also of neighboring Ginger as well are being transported in there. Now the development follows a Monday, October 28th meeting, because if you look at issues of hospital referrals, most of the areas we are seeing also referrals taking place in there, because look at Lugazi. Most people are being referred to Ginger. Iganga also is receiving patients from also those areas, and that means the development also is quite good, and establishing a heart center would also be very, very much good. And I want to appreciate all those leaders for also listening to that agreement, because health is indeed something we must work towards. And now that is where we're going to be seeing that happening. And Jinja Regional Referral Hospital and Uganda Muslim Supreme Council have been contesting over the ownership of the land on Cliff Road West, and that is on Baxi Road in Jinja City, which prompted also Jinja Regional Referral Hospital to erect a shilling 340 million perimeter wall as a buffer denying access to the Muslim community who have been burying on that facility for 92 years. And on Tuesday, that is where we did see Minister Judith Nabako also reaching that facility after the Muslim community asked her ministry to intervene on the matter. And after we did see that happening, the two warring parties were actually brought together, the Muslim community and the administration of the Jinja Regional Referral Hospital were brought together in presence of the Lands Ministry and the Ministry of Health, where a decision was reached out, where the facility and the land had to be divided halfway, each where the Muslim community is supposed to take half. The hospital administration is supposed to take half, and according to information we're receiving, now the Muslim community also will be continuing to bury in there, as the hospital administration is planning to set up a heart center, which I really feel is really very, very much good in there. And that is one issue that we're seeing, and we hope at the end of the day, also the further disagreements also will arise in that matter in there, because now the ministries and the leaders have also intervened on the matter, and that is where we shall be seeing also that also ending. What are the stakeholders saying? Sharing is caring. Government also did tell Jinja Hospital and Uganda Muslim Supreme Council on the land. That is according to the stand. The government also did issue out in there, where the government also recently ordered Jinja Regional Referral Hospital and Uganda Muslim Supreme Council to share the contested 4.2 acre piece of land. That means they will be taking 2.1 acres of the land that's located on Cliff Road, that is west, and the Baxi Road in Jinja City in there. Now the decision was reached also at a closed door meeting between officials from Ministry of Health and Ministry of Lands, led by Judith Nabakova, and also together with also the two warring parties. And that is what we did see happening in there. And after conducting a locus, we were able to also see a decision reached that to also enable the land be divided halfway, where the Muslim community is taking half. The other group is also taking half as well in there. And at the end of the day, that is what we are seeing happening. And we hope, as the Jinja Referral Hospital is now breaking access for the Muslim community, we also help all the stakeholders take it in good faith, because if at all somebody dies and the person is a Muslim, be it a work of the hospital, the person is going to be buried in there. And if the person is a Muslim and the Muslim falls sick, the person still can be transported to the hospital, and the heart center is going to be also helping ensure that lives also do not die, because we are talking about life. Because I love the scenario which says saving a life is as if you have saved the whole of mankind. That is indeed what we need to also preach. And we need to also focus on, other than using force. I believe all this is just simply coming because there was no proper agreement between the two parties calling for the intervention of higher authorities, who have also done it amicably in there, and want to appreciate all those engaged in that. Where we want to also appreciate the Minister of Health, the Minister of Lands, and the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, plus the Jinja Regional Referral Hospital, for reaching that agreement of ensuring that no fights also happen on that land. For over 92 years, we hope now also they take it in good faith, and at the end of the day, that is where we also have to appreciate the decision. My name is Farish Majid. We are stopping the discussion in there. When we return back in the second hour, I will be letting you know what's happening in their stories. I will be also touching what's happening in the world of sport. I do understand that as we're getting close to the weekend, the games are also already returning right away from the regional leagues up to international level in there. I will be letting you know some of those games that will be taking place also already over the weekend. For now, we're taking a short commercial break. My name is Farish Majid. When I return back, I will be continuing from there. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions. empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTimes Solar. Power your life.
Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to StarTimes.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium, Channel 259 and Channel 246. Starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and limited passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back, and I hope you are still with us. And today is a Friday, and that is why the excitement is always real. I want to say it's a great Friday, and that is where we hope also you can still also be with us up to 9 o'clock. And this is where we're going to be discussing a lot of issues. Remember, you too also really still can participate with us, most especially you is watching us online via Facebook, via YouTube. You can still drop your comments in there and let us know what is also happening within your areas. And that would also, at the end of the day, enable us understand what is happening locally in there. And this is where we are seeing so many issues. Remember, in the first hour, we were able to discuss a number of stories. Right away from what happened in Jinja, we headed to Nakaseke, and now we are back to also continue with other areas because we want to also touch across the entire country by letting you know what is happening in those areas in there, and that would also at the end of the day keep you informed and also in the know of what is making rounds within your areas. Now in Hoima, we are seeing how Hoima High Court also remanding a 70-year-old of what we call disputed land, and that is one thing also which we are seeing in there, because if you talk about issues of land disputes, today you realize many times people only go through a lot, and at the end of the day, there's really a lot more that they need to sort of work and focus towards on. Now the Hoima Chief Magistrate Court has today remanded a 70-year-old, and this happened yesterday where Robert Musoga was also sent to Hoima government prison for 1 week over allegations of forcefully retaining disputed land. And now the presiding over the case, Hoima Chief Magistrate, that is George Ndifundida, heard that Musoga had forcibly also occupied 40 acres of land, piece of land located, that is in Kahoro village in Kabatalia parish in Buhimba sub-county in Chikube district, and that is where the contested land report also belongs to the family of late Festo Munioga from the same also the sub-county, and that is one area where we did see Musoga had been also embroiled in a land dispute with the Munioga family since 1995, and in 2015 we did see Munioga family filed a case against him in Buhimba sub-county SC3 court, accusing him of also attempting to seize their family land, and now the court also ruled in favor of Munioga and also ordered also Musoga to vacate the contested land. However, Musoga declined and claimed also he had also full ownership of the land, and now he has been remanded, and this issue of land is indeed happening. And today you know that most of the family members cannot also look eye into eye just because of issues of an encroachment or taking over land, which is indeed a great concern today, and I feel at the end of the day there's something we need to work towards. And Musoga subsequently appealed the ruling at the Masindi Chief Magistrate Court, but the appeal was dismissed, and now the Masindi Court then issued a warrant of vacant possession and handing over the land, that is to Munioga family, and warrant of execution was issued, and also we did see police also doing that. And on April 18th of 2016, Court Bailiff Everest Butera, with support also from officers of Hoima Central Police Station, executed the court order officially transferring the land to the Munioga family and erecting a barbed wire fence to mark its boundaries. And disregarding court's decision, Musoga allegedly destroyed the fence and continued using also the piece of land for farming, insisting that he inherited it from his grandmother. And now the family later petitioned the state also House Anti-Corruption Unit, prompting an investigation that led to Musoga's arrest on October 29th of this year. And in the court on Thursday, we were able to see Chief Magistrate Ndifulindida say that it is also said that Musoga between April 2016 and 2024 at Kaoro village intimidated also Martin Karamagi for illegally also entitled also the land in the. But how do you always see people fighting for issues of land? Why must people also continue for fighting over pieces of land? I really want to say this is happening across the entire country, where issues of land are indeed ongoing. You like most of the family members actually have issues of land. In the neighborhoods, people are not talking to each other just because of issues of land. Others are pretending, but if there's any small matter, people are fuming up. People are quarreling, people insulting each other just because of the issues of land, and I really feel it is where now we need to embrace one thing. I really want to say, if at all you want to avoid all these issues, one, the issues of titling your land is very much important. Then surveying it is what we need to also embark on. Survey the land and have it titled. Nobody is going to be crossing on that land, and that would also at the end of the day help people also avoid issues of land, also the encroachments. But today most of our land is not also being titled, it's not also being surveyed, which is indeed a great concern in there, where if at all one encroaches on the land, it becomes a challenge. So I think to avoid all that, there's one thing we need to do when it comes to solely saving our lives, our land from being taken by people who have ill intentions. It is actually just one thing, and the one thing is having it titled. And that would at the end of the day help people solely avoid those issues of their land being taken. And that's why we're going to be leaving the discussion aside, and at the end of the day, I will be also letting you know what's happening in there. Now that's where we are seeing DP so withdrawing murder charges against a teacher accused of also setting husband's home on fire. And that is one thing which we are seeing on the paper this morning, and this is on the monitor, where we are able to see the Director of Public Prosecutions, Jane Francis Abodo, has withdrawn murder charges against Mary Akech Benedette, the head teacher, that is also of Rockview School, and the charges also were withdrawn at the Grade 1 Magistrate also in Tororo on Thursday by Magistrate Elijah Irandukunda, and as the case was happening in there, because this person has been battling charges solely of also the mother in now the state attorney also the Harriet Angom tendered a court withdrawal from dated also the October 24th, and now that means the person who has been arrested and who has been tried is going to be a free person. But all in all, this is what we are seeing, and the presiding magistrate also ordered the suspect be set free unless held for other lawful charges, and that means it is not yet over. Even if you are set free of other charges, there may be other charges which we never know may also really arise in there, but as for now, there is no also really case the person also really is being arrested for. And now, before also withdrawing the charges, the magistrate explained that the court also the Constitution of Uganda gives powers to the DPP to withdraw charges solely against any suspect without giving reasons for its decision. And Akech and 3 others had been accused of murdering her husband, who was the ex-head teacher of St. Peter's College, Tororo, and that is where we are now seeing Joseph Olokojo was set also on fire by unknown assailants in a shocking act, that is of violence, in August 14th of 2004 at his home in Ogola village in Tororo town, and that is one thing also which we did see happening shockingly in there this year. And if you talk about issues of murders, according to the annual police crime report, at least daily, there are at least 23 persons who are dying as a result of either murder or accidents. And if you look at 23 numbers, just imagine how many of these people are leaving behind vulnerable, because if you look at the issues of also the persons, you know, many of these people are actually doing enough to support either themselves and their families, and that is where we are saying today issues of also murder are very much rampant, and that means we also need to also devise means to also avoid some of those issues, and that would at the end of the day help us also in ending also the other people's lives, and that will also still help us in avoiding ourselves entering into issues that may also be termed as violations of the laws. And that means if you have issues, if I have issues with you, we can sit down and resolve those issues, which is actually the best way, and also really resorting to wanting to end my life. Even if you have issues, there's no society where there are no problems, and this is one issue solely which I want to talk about society, because if you talk about society, definitely you're not going to be running away from disagreements. At one time you will disagree, but the issue is how do you end those issues and how do you move on, which is actually the way to go. And if you have issues, how do you end those and how do you put those issues aside? It is what really matters. Even if you have issues, even if we disagree, because there's no way that we are going to be agreeing at all times. There will be a time when at one point we shall be disagreeing, but how do you put those issues aside? And also putting those issues aside is what really matters in there, because most of the times we are seeing issues of murders being on the rise. And in most cases, these are part of revenge. Because we see issues of revenge happening. We see revenge happening, and in most cases in the revenge, we see people ending the other people's lives, which is really something which I feel this morning we must also take as advisors keenly, because if you have issues, there are communities, there are structures to also address those issues, which I feel is really very much important in there. And now leaving that aside, looking at some of the stories, government injects shillings 407 billion into renewable energy solutions is another story we are seeing, and this is really quite good. And at the end of the day, we not also want to see this project just remain on paper. We want to see the actual value for this money, where the government also has injected, that is about $110 million US, which is an equivalent of 407 billion, to increase also the use of renewable energy technologies by reducing the price of that's off-grid solar systems for community members. And we did see the managing director of Uganda Energy Credit Capitalization Company, Mr. Roy Nyamutale Baguma, who said that government also really is intending to also capitalize on the demand on supply chain of energy solutions, that is for the citizens also to embrace also other forms of energy. Because if you look at the forms of energy today, most especially wood fuel, it is actually doing a lot of the service, and today many trees are being cut down just for fuel. And that means if at all we embrace these alternative sources of energy, we never know, the climate may still be spared, and we would be in position also at the end of the day avoid ourselves also into entering trouble with the climate. Because today if you talk about issues of climate change, people do not know when the weather is going to be changing. The seasons are now changing, most of the farmers are going through a lot, and which has been partly attributed to climate change, which partly is also said to be caused by us as man. Why our activities have also really drastically contributed that, according to experts who are also really involved in climate change in there, because many of times when you interact with them, they will tell you about issues of cutting down trees, which has also greatly contributed. But how ready are we as citizens also to avoid ourselves into entering those activities that may also harm the environment? Because many of the time people cut down trees, but the replacements are not there. How many trees have we planted this year? I mean, it's all the campaigns which also going to say that many people plant trees. You know that there's really a lot more that we need to also really embrace on. And at the end of the day, that is where we're going to be finding it a challenge if at all we not also address those issues in there. And that is one issue so we are going to be seeing on. And as an alternative source of energy, we are now seeing more money being planned. That is also for what we call renewable energy solutions, where 407 billion Ugandan shillings has now been personally poured in there. But we expect this also money to go into what is expected out of it. We do not expect people to just use this money for their activities in terms of allowances, because most of the times when projects are launched like this, you will have most of it is going into allowances. You will have most of it is going to workshops, which is really a great challenge, which I feel must also not be able to sort of go into some of these issues in there. And we were able to sort of see also that happening, and we hope at the end of the day that this also does not go on as we are also discussing in there. But how ready are we for also receiving this maybe project? How ready are we also to receive this project that is also going to be offering us energy, renewable energy solutions, which first of all we may be able to use as energy for lighting our homes, and then for cooking, which is really quite good. And other than that, we should be able to solve disease from practice of cutting down trees, which also has its own negative repercussions on the environment and the climate at large, and that would at the end of the day improve on the livelihoods of the citizens and on the environment at large in there. And that is one area we are going to be continuing with the discussions, and we are going to be putting aside. But how ready are we to receive this project? My humble appeal would be that let this money go into what is expected of. We don't expect to see this money go into allowances. We don't expect this money to go into maybe workshops. Because many of the times when projects are launched like this has actually been attributed as a challenge. Most of the times when you interact with people and you ask why the projects are not yielding the fruits, these are the concerns, these are the issues that are always emerging in there. But we hope this time around, this does not solely happen in there with this project, which is really good and also really for the benefit of the community and everyone out in there. Leaving that aside, Prime Minister Nabanja urges more support to Uganda as UN marks 79th anniversary, and this is one thing which we did see happening in there. And as UN is marking 79th anniversary, the Prime Minister, Robert Nabanja, has asked the United Nations to also continue supporting Uganda's development agenda. And in a speech delivered by Ms. Helen Asamo, the State Minister for Disability Affairs to the congregation during the commemoration of the 79th anniversary of the United Nations Kingdom in Kampala on October this year, we did see Premier Nabanja saying also that the UN has been instrumental in supporting also their country's development. And this time round, she is actually pledging for more support. And if you look at some of those support also that this lady, the Prime Minister of this country, was also working towards, is the support to refugees. Because if you look at the refugees today, Uganda is also hosting a number of refugees across the entire country, in several places of the region. And in Western sub-region, we are having 4 districts that are known as refugee hosting districts, but we also having what we call the urban refugees, whose population is solely overwhelming. And we're able to solely see a research that was being conducted by VNG International and partners, which also shows that we are having a huge population of the refugees in the country, most especially in the urban areas, whose population also is not catered for and they do not get the support. And that means they are going to be relying on resources that are not planned for them. For instance, health. Today, when we move the hospitals, you will find that the refugees are in there. The Congolese and the South Sudanese, the Ethiopians, the Somalis are moving for all these resources. But these are not also budgeted for. So I think it's high time that also this support also is also headed to in there. Now, in a speech also delivered in her absentia, we are able to also see the outgoing UN resident coordinator Susan Nyongi called for more also collaborations between the United Nations and the government of Uganda to solve more challenges in there. And that means, if at all, the government of Uganda works shoulder by shoulder with the UN, also the agency, also a lot of those issues are going to be addressed. And now dignitaries from different UN agencies used also yesterday's dinner to bid farewell. That's Namodo, who has been the country's UN representative since also 2020, and she has been also at the helm of that body. Now UNICEF country representative Munir Salfidin also described Namodo as a leader who unified and so uplifted the UN team in Uganda with grace, trust, and fairness. And that means she is one person who served with integrity. But the question is, how somebody who is in that top position, what are you doing to solely sit there to solely at the end of the day? If you leave, people also are going to be remembering you for that landmark you are leaving behind, is what also we feel must also be able to solely ask ourselves in there as we into those offices, as we are in those positions, is what also we must also be able to mind of as we are leading others in there, as we are serving humanity, is what also we must also ask ourselves on. Not only the bosses, whoever is a given chance to also serve society, what are you doing to also make sure by the time you go, people also feel the gap you're going to be living, and that is where Namodo, who has been the UN representative, who has been at the boss, who has been at the helm of that organization, who also bid farewell to the country this year, also is remembered for. But the question is, if you're leaving, how are you going to be living is what we also need to ask ourselves each and every day as we are working in there. Now, the Uganda Human Rights Commission chairperson, Maria Mwangadia, said Namodo was a development partner who was fierce in advocacy and warm in friendship. And all these dignitaries are actually remembering the big boss also for all that. And she has now gone and she has also done her part. We also have to appreciate her and wish her the very best in her next endeavors. But the question we should be using her experience is that how shall we be remembered? And what are we going to be exactly remembered for? By the time you go, are you going to be the person who's going to be remembered that this person did this and that, he caused conflicts, he was corrupt, he did this and that? These are the questions we need to also remind of as we are serving humanity in there. Now, on behalf of civil society, Xavier Ejoy, the country director of Action Aid International Uganda, says, Susan, you have truly embodied the UN's values, not only also in your role as resident coordinator, but also in your partnership with us. And you are down to earth and approachable, showing compassion and warmth to everyone you met. And that is what she is being remembered for by all the stakeholders. And at the end of the day, I hope she will be remembered also really, for all this. And she will also be maybe serving and still doing the very best she has been doing in the next endeavors in there. And that's where we're going to be leaving the discussion aside with. In Karamoja, we are seeing hope as the region gets shillings 20 billion EU project to enhance food security. And today, if you look at Karamoja sub-region, it's actually one of those areas in this country that for long has been hit by challenges of the long dry spell. And that is where now we are seeing a European Union project also aiming to also improve on food security, coming up to the hope and rescue of the vulnerable communities in Karamoja sub-region in there. Now, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, abbreviated as MAIF, Major General David Kashura, has said the European Union has funded improving food security and resilience to food production systems. Also, the project is set to enhance resilience and food sustainability in the region, which has now been launched. And at the end of the day, we are expecting also all the Karamojons to this time round engage in food production and also depending on pastoral activities, because many of the times we have been able to know the Karamojons as pastoralists, but this time round we are also expecting them to engage in agriculture production, which also is the way to go, because without also the other foodstuffs, then the animals are not going to be eaten. Now, in Mr. Kasura's remarks, which were made yesterday also by the MAIF's Undersecretary, Mr. Ronald Segawa, who delivered the speech also during the launch of the project on October 30th at the Ministry headquarters in Entebbe, we are able to see that this is going to be addressing issues of food insecurity. And Mr. Kashura said that there is need to fast-track the implementation of the project, since a significant also amount of time has been lost from the planned start of the project that was in 2023. But this time around, now they also want to beat with time. Now, the head of cooperation at the European Union, that is to Uganda, Ms. Caroline Headstorm, also said the project aligns with the European Union's need to address the challenge of climate change and promoting sustainable development. And today, with the issue of climate change, people are not also able to also plant the crops at certain seasons. And that means the extension workers need to also carry out more research, and they also have to extend this knowledge to those farmers and those vulnerable community members who would also wish to engage in farming, because at the end of the day, food security is really a great concern and something that is still happening within our society, and therefore we also need to also deliberate on that. And that would also at the end of the day help improve on food security, and which would also really improve on ending hunger, because we need to end hunger in that area, because many times people have also been able to also die as a result of hunger in that area. Now, the Assistant Food and Agriculture Organization, which is also abbreviated as FAO, in terms of also in charge of programs in Uganda, Dr. Charles Owat, said the project's primary goal is to improve food and nutrition security across Karamoja sub-region by enhancing sustainable food production and productivity. And today when we talk about issues of nutrition, some people do not know about it. Food nutrition is actually what we also need to go back and sensitize the locals on, because many times people think food nutrition, maybe eating a nutritious food is just simply through eating meat, which is not the case. Maybe eating chicken, it's not the case. Eating fish is not the case. Eating food which is nutritious is actually having balanced diet. And at the end of the day, that is where we're eating food so that also is going to be helping us in building our bodies. So I think it's one thing also which we need to work on. As the FAO representative, Mr. Owat, also say the project builds upon both agencies' expertise, mandate, also, and that's also is going to empower ongoing efforts in Karamoja sub-region, including strengthening stock responsive systems, in the Karamoja initiative. Also, now the Deputy County Representative of World Food Program, Mr. Marcus Pereira, said the project is part of its efforts also in the fight against hunger across the country, also in partnerships with the government, and that is one area which we are seeing also, and we have to also work towards because of issues also of food insecurity, which has also been a great challenge in that sub-region in there. Because if you look at the land is there, but many times people have not been able to venture in food production because of issues of climate change, which now this project is going to be addressing. And we hope this also utilizes the challenge. And also addresses that challenge, also it is coming to address in there, because if you look at these funds, then you realize that there's really indeed more that we also need to work towards, and that is to working on food security. And food security remains a great concern, not only in Karamoja sub-region, even in areas of West Nile sub-region, we are still talking about food insecurity. Moving also to Teso and Ankole, still food insecurity is something which we also have to work and also improve on, because if you look at all that, then at the end of the day, hunger will be history. And this project also, we're expecting now to address its intended purpose. We are not also expecting it to go into allowances. We're not expecting this money to go into maybe workshops. That is one area which I really feel the leaders also should be able to sort of work on, and those implementing the project must also put humanity first, and that would also at the end of the day make it a success, other than also a theory in there. And that's why we're going to be leaving the discussion aside and looking at some of those stories happening elsewhere. Government MPs disagree on the life after UCDA is also another story we're seeing right now. And remember, the Uganda Coffee Development Authority is also has been on the spotlight over the issues also of mergers in there, where it also survived in there. Now the government and MPs have also disagreed on the life also after UCDA in there. Now a section of legislators and experts yesterday said the dissolution of Uganda Coffee Development Authority and the transfer of it also to Ministry of Agriculture will have negative impact. That is on foreign earnings, exports, and as well as farmers' livelihoods. And those who opposed the bill also argue that MAIF also will not be able to do this enough. And that is where people are also doubting the capacity of Ministry of Agriculture to also undertake some of these entities which have also been able to do a lot of work also in there. Remember, this also drew a lot of debate, most especially amongst the members of the public and some leaders, with also those leaders aligning with Buganda, which is also one of those regions producing coffee, rejecting that. And I was able to also see the Prime Minister, that is of Buganda Kingdom, that is Charles Peter Mayiga, disagreeing and also saying government should not also merge UCDA, but also rather should embark on empowering it. And also taking it to Ministry of Agriculture, let the body be empowered with the necessary also support in there. That would also, at the end of the day, still improve on coffee production, because several initiatives have been developed in that sub-region. For instance, campaigns like Mwanyi Telimba, which means also that coffee does not lie. Those are initiatives that are being also undertaken in there to also see that many people engage in coffee production, which have yielded results. I hope this time around also merging it is really something which many people have disagreed to, and this is also something at the end of the day that would also be able to also reduce on coffee production. Because if you look at coffee, it is actually one of those cash crops that can grow anywhere. In Western sub-region, Arabica coffee is actually one that will also do well in there, but today many farmers have not also ventured into coffee production. It means if we merge this to Ministry of Agriculture, this time around we expect also them to also come and sensitize the locals, most especially those in Western sub-region, because as Western sub-region, we do not have a crop that we identified with. Other areas have certain crops that they are known for, because move to Buganda, you know at least matoke comes from in there. And coffee, this time around also after the kingdom also introduced it, it is doing well in there. You move to Ankole, there are certain crops that are known for. Matoke is actually known for that. You move to areas of Bushenyi, you will see that people are planting bananas in huge chunks. We have forests of bananas. But Western sub-region, we don't have any crop that we are known to. What about in Chigezi sub-region? In Kabale, you know that Irish is coming in high numbers, in high volumes. Not forgetting Mbali also, where we are seeing tomatoes and onions also coming in high volumes. Not forgetting Irish as well in there. But as Western, what is that crop that we are known for? Is it only tobacco that we are going to be known for, which has of course gone down? I hope this time round we would also maybe be able to adopt crops like coffee and others also to make sure that we identify ourselves as a Western sub-region with, and that will also then they increase on production. Because if at all we have maybe the crops, we can be able to slowly move to international market and say this is what Western sub-region is producing. If you want it, we are selling it at this rate, and that will also help the farmers also already have a say when it comes to determining prices. And that is where we are going to be leaving the discussions with. And as we get to move on with the show, we are still having some 30 minutes where we're going to be letting you know of what's happening in the world of sport. And I will be summarizing the discussion with you also on what's happening internationally. For now, we are taking a short commercial break. My name is Farish Majid. Stay tuned as I get to you back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions, and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to StarTimes.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium, Channel 259 and Channel 246. Starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back into the final minutes of the discussions. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV, channel 477 on StarTimes. And those watching us on Zuku, joining anytime from now, that is Azam. You do not have to be worried. Anytime from now, we shall be on that platform. That means you also have to be waiting for us. For those who have the decoder, there's no need also to be worried and in panic also in there. And at the end of the day, that is where we are going to be continuing with the discussions. And I hope you are still with us, and we are going to be doing this with you up to 9 o'clock. My name is Farish Majid. We're now starting off our discussions this hour of the morning. We are seeing at least over 150 orphans left helpless as funders pull out. Is another story we're seeing where more than 150 orphans at Restoration in Chiradongo district are stranded after the staff laid off non-payment of salaries for more than 5 months. And now that's what we are seeing happening in there. Now the most affected children are those whose parents were victims of the Lord Resistance Army war, victims in the northern Uganda, in the areas of Acholi and Lango sub-region, where we have among them 83 boys and 84 girls, with 167 orphans aged between 2 and also 20 years. And founded in 2004 by Dr. David Tom McCall and his wife also, that is Janice from Texas. United States Restoration Gateway was established to help orphans whose parents died also as a result of the LRA conflict in the northern part of this country. Now the organization solely operates at a level of IV Health Center 4, a facility solely, and runs a school, and that is a secondary school, as well as an orphanage. And currently also the organization employs about 150 staff across also the education and health sectors. However, for the past also weeks, the employees have also been on strike, leaving the orphan children without essential support because the funders have already pulled down. That means the people cannot also continue working in there, and that is also the way it's alleged that the founder, Dr. McCall, abandoned the project and returned to the US after Don also withdrew funding due to accountability concerns, and we could not also independently also verify the claim. And the founder also verily claims also, and also the founder could not also reach by phone and also by email in there. And according to Atimango, I have been also Atimango also one of those who have been working in there. According to her, also they have been also working without also the money. And according to Ms. Atimango, the children's clothes have gone unwashed for days due to lack of supplies, and that means they are also facing challenges in supplying and also dealing with these children. Now, lab technician France Onega reported that he is also owed about 2.5 million for 6 months of unpaid work in there. Miss Eunice Oroma, a medical officer at the orphanage health facility, said they treat orphans and a few local community members. However, with the staff on strike, the children have also been left without medical care. Miss Diana Nyachio Binga, the administrator of Restoration Gateway, said the organization has repeatedly also asked the employer to allocate resources to support the orphans in vain, and that means the person has pulled off and the works also will not be going in. That's why we're seeing now Samuel Babazi, the Stand Resident District Commissioner, confirmed that they have also received complaints and are drafting letters to relevant officers to request for intervention, and that is where we are going to be seeing the children also being left vulnerable. And this is sort of something which I feel is indeed with pain, because if you look at children, sometimes those who are orphans, you realize they are going through a lot, and supporting them is actually very much important. And where these projects also lose funders, it indeed becomes a great concern. And the issue of accountability is also what we need to work towards, and make sure that those who are work also in a way that is a bit transparent, other than also working in a corrupt way, which would also at the end of the day make funders pull out also the support for these vulnerable children. Because imagine over 150, this number is quite huge. Where are they going to be going to? Because they have been depending on support also from this funder. Now the funders pulled off. What next? What next for this group also in there is what also we need to work towards in there. That's where we're seeing Joseph Okiror also among also now living outside in also in Kamuli district. We are seeing a community child care home going strong after 3 years of Americans' intervention. As we're talking about funding ending somewhere, in Kamuli, it is also really that the funding is coming. But what should the people of Kamuli learn from what is happening in Kiradongo? I hope they need to learn one thing, that is accountability, and that will also enable them also to continue with their fundings for decades and decades, if at all they don't want to lose the funding also just like in there. Now, Joseph Okiron was born also to a suspected mentally ill mother who abandoned him at the age of 3.5 weeks, and those who saw him he was in critical condition with both eyes shut and infected, malnourished, dehydrated, and weighed about 1.6 kilograms. And he was immediately admitted to Kamuli General Hospital, and after spending 6 days after intensive care, he was discharged and referred to the Vine Uganda organization as also the pioneer baby in the cottage located in Bowala Southern Division in Kamuli municipality. And this was followed by the Vine USA president, that is Gary Mekam, with support from the truly fed ministries from Texas. And it also put a smile on and given sanctuary, that's to vulnerable children and orphans. And that is one issue so we are seeing in Kamuli in there. And this time around, we expect people of Kamuli to also learn from the experience of people in Kiradongo in there. And Richard Mwogereza, the executive director, that's at Divine Uganda, says the cottage was open to be safe haven of hope also really, and offer care and nature babies who have also really been deprived of sense of belonging and restore their rights. And that is where we are seeing that happening. And at the time of commissioning the baby's cottage 3 years ago, Bisoga North Regional Police had recorded about 302 cases of child neglect and child abuse, also and torture, also registered 80 cases. Missing, lost, and abandoned children also had about 76, and desertion also we are 60 cases. And this year, the records for January to also June indicate that 82 children were abandoned, and we are seeking admission to babies' home, and thus raising burden of overlooking also at them in there. And at the end of the day, that is one issue so which we feel we also need to talk about in terms of also build the capacity of all those. And with the capacity of 50 children, the Vine Baby Cottage currently has 5 girls and 12 boys, all recommended by police and the probation officer. And the home also really was approved by Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, also which gives legal and technical support, backed by competent team of social workers, wardens, and resident nurse. And that is one issue so which we are seeing happening in there. Now, he used also the organization's third anniversary to advocate for embracing domestic adoption and fostering so that the children also live within their community environment and grow to inspire others. And that is one issue so which we need to also talk about, and we need to continue checking on these children as they are growing to make sure they are also really brought up as citizens who are also really aware of their rights. And now Kamuli District Probation Officer Joshua Mboizi said it is difficult to also restart and register children homes because of the stringent and safety measures involved, yet it is crucial for rehabilitation and also really care for children, not only in conflict with the law, but also those in need of care, and commended the Vine Baby Cottage for being the pioneer children's home in Kamuli District in there. Now, Stanbic Bank Kamuli Branch Manager Jean Chobuhire, who presented solely an assortment of packaged groceries to cottage, appreciate the financial discipline and value for money services given to the children, whom she described as healthy and loved. And she said, we appreciate partnering with the cottage. This 3-year journey of love and compassion is also really at its best also in there, and that means the work of the cottage is being appreciated. But then the question is, what experiences are you learning from those also really maybe who are doing similar activities? I really want to say supporting children is actually something which we must also really embark on, because if we're supporting these vulnerable children, sometimes it is really something which is very painful. The children also suffer a lot. They also really cry sometimes because a child is a child. There's no way a child is going to be also really growing without the support. Imagine a child growing also without a mother, without a father, also really support. Sometimes is subject to a lot of misery, and that is where we are also going to be putting that discussion aside, and that so we have to make sure that many children also do not die as a result of pain also they go through in there. And depression is actually common in children, and we hope this time around this project solely will be able to solely address that issue in there. Now, not leaving that aside, and that's where also we're going to be looking at some of the studies happening elsewhere, but still within health. Health Ministry turns to solar refrigerators to keep vaccines cool. It's another story we're seeing where the government of Uganda yesterday dispatched 776 pieces of equipment comprising of 556 solar direct drive refrigerators and 220 electric refrigerators to districts to ensure safe storage of vaccines in rural health facilities. And recently I was in Terego district where this issue was already very much raised, and yet this was at Tuku Health Center 2, where this issue was already featured in there, where the facility lacks power. And that means drug storage is actually a great concern because well-wishers has donated the refrigerators, but the refrigerator cannot be able to run without also really electricity. And I believe such facilities also deserve the solar also in there, so that they can be able to solely empower and do what is expected out of them. And now that's where we are seeing the Ministry of Health rolling out solar-powered refrigerators and also really solar panels also to health facilities to help improve on drug storage in there. Now the initiative also by the Ministry of Health and UNICEF also says is critical in addressing limited storage and capacity solely of and presenting the effect of unstable power on proper storage of vaccines in the country, and something which I feel Dr. Diana Trine, the Health Ministry also Secretary, also did also talk about and said the dispatchment also of equipment is the third assignment of the program also that Gavi also and the Vaccine Alliance in partnership is supporting, but this time round particularly supported by the World Bank in there, and this time around we expect this project so to also really help in improving drug storage, because imagine purchasing these drugs or receiving these donations and for them to sort of just go wasted like that because they were not properly stored. It would be very much bad, and many people would also need these drugs. May not be in position to also get them when the right time comes. And I hope this time around the solar powered refrigerators must be used well, and we expect also the personnel who are going to be using this to also really run them properly to make sure at least there's no also challenges of power when it comes to also the drug storage in there. Now, Dr. Rabban Nandi, the new UNICEF country representative, said the equipment will have a huge impact on the delivery also of vaccines, particularly in the areas that are hard to reach across the country. And one of those areas I was able to mention to you is actually Terego. In Terego, I was in Tukwel Center 2. This issue actually featured, and I had also really a time to tour with Stanbic Bank, who actually made a donation to that health facility in there. But you realize that indeed the facility is actually suffering a lot when it comes to issues of drug storage, when it comes to issues of access to medical care, where people have to trek long distances to also really see that they also get the facility and also get the drugs in there. And I feel that due to the poor road sector, many people are being left out. Many people are dying and also resorting to what we call traditional healers, just because the real medical doctors are very far from them. So I think it's at the end of the day something which we feel must also be able to also improve on. Now the ministry also said vaccination has contributed to reduction in diseases, especially those affecting children, and also playing a role in improvement of life expectancy in the country. And that is where we are also appreciating the Ministry of Health for reaching out and also dispatching what we call these modern solar-powered refrigerators. And this is the way to go, because some of the areas still not have electricity, and the electricity they have is a bit unstable. So I think with the solar-powered refrigerators, that is going to be helping in storing these drugs for more days, and that is the way to go. And at the end of the day, we also expect these drugs to do what is expected out of them, and that is where we are going to be leaving the discussion aside and still looking at more stories. I really want to share more stories going to happen, both regionally and also internationally. I will be also touching on those discussions later in the world of sports, but I really want to assure you that we are going to be continuing discussion up to 9 o'clock. After 9, that is where after 10 we will be coming through a news bulletin. And I must assure the team is already here to solely give you what's happening in the world of Eolaza in there. For those who speak the language, then it's high time also for you to be waiting for them in there. And we were able to discuss a number of stories where in Agago, UPDF soldier has been arrested for killing 3 civilians, and I was able to also give you a story in Apache where the police are also investigating circumstances under which a mother to a UPDF soldier was also murdered by unknown assailants in there, and many other interesting stories I was able to discuss with you in there. In Chambogo, the Sorority Study Center, we also able to talk to you about story of strike going in there, and that is where also I feel you must therefore also know what's happening in there. And I will be also letting you know of many other stories in relation to the termination and also the halting of the Lango Paramount Chief installation, which also been halted yesterday, and the activity was due to take place tomorrow, where many people had been preparing to also be part of the installation or the coronation of the Paramount Chief of the Lango Cultural Institution. But now the High Court in Lira has dismissed that. It means the election has been annulled. It means those who have been waiting, then you'll have to wait any longer if there is any appeal in relation to that, because many people also run to court to also file their disagreements, which as this time round worked, and court was able to sort of hold the installation and the coronation of the Paramount Chief in there. And that's where we're going to leave the discussion aside. And this time around to look at what's happening internationally. So many stories happening in Gaza. We're still seeing the war happening. But somebody also may be asking themselves what's happening internationally. For those who love knowing what's happening internationally, I really want to show you that so many issues will come to happen where in the US we are seeing US election weighs on Ukraine's frontline soldiers. Is another story which we are seeing on the paper this morning, because if you look at Ukraine, today we know that Ukraine indeed has been also hit by war, and this is also where we are able to see them also being attacked by Russia. And as she sweeps also her broken glasses up our shop inner, we are able to slowly see the election also of Ukraine slowly turning violent. And that is one thing also which we are seeing happening in there, and the US election so detest that. And we do understand the US also and the United States states shall be entering into also elections anytime from now, and that is where we are still hoping to see, because if you look at America, it actually determines the affairs of most countries. There's either direct or indirect influence of the country into affairs of other countries. So I think it's also high time for us to also follow up on that. Meanwhile, in Spain, we also seeing the catastrophe following the floods that also happened in there, rising to 150, as more bodies are still said to be missing, and at least 158 people have been also said also to be confirmed dead in the deadly flood also that swept away very many people in there, and others had to climb rooftops for survival, and that is where this started happening. On Thursday this week, more than 1,200 workers, aided by drones, we are also deployed to rescue missionaries as the rains continued, and this also threatens parts of the country where we're now seeing people climbing rooftops, others also climbing trees to survive in there following the deadly floods that have happened in Spain. And I was able to talk to you about this story yesterday, but now the numbers have also been said to increase to 150. And we hope also that is also one thing which we are going to be also following up, as dozens are said to be injured as well, because if you look at the nightmare that happened in Spain in there as a result of the floods, then you read indeed it is something which also is very, very much bad in there. And we pray for those who died in Spain, because it's really something very much dangerous for us to also lose also people in there, because if you look at Spain, it also has a huge population where many people also residing in there, and today the floods also have affected some areas in there. But we are following up on that. I will be letting you know of any developments in relation to that. But to summarize and discuss with what's happening in the world of sports, so many issues going to happen, and I want to show you that tomorrow, as the weekend is coming closer, we shall be having the 4 big league return, where we shall be having a game between Karo Karunzi and Blacks Power, which is also going to be taking place in there. And Buhimba will be hosting Maida, which also will be on Sunday. And on Sunday still we shall be seeing Tungasaze, who lost by the Black Angels, being hosted by Calvary Midigo. And I hope Midigo Calvary also can be able to pick maybe lessons and also pick examples from what the Black Angels did in there. Meanwhile, Chinda Boys will be returning in action still on 3rd against Arroyo Hill Sports Club, and Boma will be also hosted by Chigezi Homeboys still on Sunday. On Dubaraka Football Club also on Sunday still will be hosting Gaddafi Football Club, which is also another big game over the weekend to watch in there, because if you look at Gaddafi, it has actually proved that they also want to return back to sometimes Uganda Premier League this season without wasting a lot of time also in there. And we are following up on as on the Dubaraka Football Club, Midigo Football Club, Midigo Calvary also, and other clubs struggling to also see that also they get the promotions in there. And one of those clubs you cannot also outrule in West Nile sub-region, and indeed is also really showing us that the team is strong, is the team of the Blacks, the Black Angels. We are going to be following up on them to see how this also will be ending. And that is where we're going to be seeing those games of the weekend. That's in the 4 big league. You can choose to watch any of those, and I will be also letting you know. Understand Uganda Premier League also, I do understand that it is not yet over. Games also in there, and I really want to assure you that we are following up on, and I will be letting you know of what's happening in the world of sports in there with me, Farish Majid, this morning. So many things going to happen, and I want to assure you that all in all, I will be letting you know what's happening in there. And later on, we shall be seeing also many other programs returning for those also who love sports. In case I leave anything out, Owen Ezaga to Lena Susie will be returning back. But in the world of Southern Uganda Premier League, still today, we shall be having a game between Sports Club Ville and UPDF. And yesterday, we were able to already see KCA walloping Maroons by 5-0. And one of those players who scored is actually from West Nile sub-region. And Akusarat also returned to scoring ways after also his second debut in there, and he actually returned in there to also score at least 1 goal in there. And more details into what happened in the world of sports will be returning with Owen Ezaga. And yesterday also we had a game which ended in a barren draw between Wakiso Giants and Express Football Club, and that is how we did see that happening in there. And I really want to show you that all that is happening, and we shall be in position to really let you know of what's happening in the world of sports with Owen Ezaga and Linda Susie, who will be here from 2 to 3 p.m., where they will be giving us comprehensive details of what's happening in the world of sports, and therefore you also have to make it a point to be part of the group and who will also really be giving you everything without also really missing anything in the world of sport in there, because work without play usually is said to be making Jack a dull boy. So we want to cut across all the sectors, and we don't want to leave anything out for you as the viewer out in there. And that is where we are going to be also pausing with discussions for today. And my name is Farish Majid. In case you are just joining us right now, I want to say welcome back. But really still, we are coming to the end of the program for this week. And that means it's a Friday, though it's the first day into the month of November. Yesterday, we were able to see fireworks going on, and many people are asking themselves, what's happening? Many people do not actually know that the Indians already celebrating their New Year. And these celebrations will be starting started yesterday, and they will be going up Saturday. And I hope you also will have the fireworks. You must not be scared, because the Indian community is celebrating the New Year. In Arua City, we were able to see fireworks almost taking 1 hour, which is something which has never been in there for many people. It was new, and I was able to see a lot of excitement in my neighborhood, simply because of the fireworks. And I really want to wish them Happy New Year and happy celebrations, because if you look at the Diwali, it is actually the celebrations that are ongoing today. And we're able to see the Indian community also expressing gifts and sharing the gifts amongst themselves, which is the way to go. If at all we are celebrating, we must celebrate together. And at the end of the day, that is also one thing that is going to be keeping the bond. With that, I come to the end of the show for today and for this week as well. But I will be returning back on Monday for the Monday edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show. Monday, we shall be having the briefing for the PLE candidates, and we want to wish them the very best in advance. And we expect them also to raise our flag high as West Nile sub-region. With that, I come to the end. I want to thank you so much for you watched us right from the time we began until it's of the morning. I want to say I'm really very much proud. There's no way, and maybe no way, I can be able to thank you in a way that also really shoots you in there. But all in all, I want to say thank you so much. Up next is the news bulletin, Liberty with Fete Manuel. I'm out.